A warm welcome to today's lecture on convergent polarized light and uniaxial interference figure. We have discussed about the basic concept of petrological microscope, the various properties we need to observe under the plane polarized light and cross polarized light. Now we are at the interference figure. Before that, we also discussed the optical indicators. In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about uniaxial indicatrix revision. We also will see what are optical sign determination from the indicatrix, convergent polarized light, what are the setup that is required to form the convergent light arrangement in a petrological microscope or the cornoscopic studies. And then we're coming to uniaxial interference figures. There are three different types of figures possible in a uniaxial mineral. One is optic axis figure, off-centered optic axis figure, and flash figure. We will see those examples. That is the summary for today's lecture. Let's start with the discussion we had in our initial lectures, where we have seen that light behaves depends on the crystal structure. Based on that, we can classify the minerals into three major groups: isotropic, uniaxial, and biaxial. We also have seen the relationship with crystal systems, where isotropic minerals are belonging to isometric system. Uniaxial belongs to hexagonal, trigonal, or tetragonal system, and biaxial belongs to orthorhombic, monoclinic, and triclinic system. Today's lecture, we will see what are indicatrix, where we have seen the uniaxial indicatrix is an ellipse that will be having two axes. That is why it is called as a biaxial ellipsoid. An indicatrix is nothing but an imaginary shape which is formed based on the refractive index of mineral. As the isotropic minerals has only one refractive index, the indicatrix look like a sphere. But in the case of uniaxial, that is characterized by two refractive index, which can be denoted as epsilon and omega. Epsilon is parallel to c-axis and omega is parallel to the horizontal axis. We can see that there are two possibilities possible for the indicatrix shape in a uniaxial mineral. So let's look at this, where we can see that in this diagram, we can see the epsilon is greater than omega. Because of that, the shape of the indicatrix is a prolate or something like a cucumber, where we can see this is a circular section with a radius of omega, and that is the one that defines the emergence of the optical axis, which is normally perpendicular to the circular section. At the same time, omega is again a circle in uniaxial negative also, but here the value of omega is greater than epsilon. Because of that, we will be getting a shape of this ellipsoid. It's like an oblate spheroid. We can see that it is a uniaxial negative indicatrix. It's more clear over here when you look at two examples given in the next slide, where we can see that when the values of omega and epsilon is given to you, it's very easy for you to determine whether that given uniaxial mineral is positive or negative. For example, quartz has n epsilon value as 1553 and n omega is 1544, where epsilon is greater than omega. Because of that, quartz is a uniaxial positive mineral. At the same time, when you look at calcite n epsilon having a value of 1.486 and omega has a value of 1.658. That means in the case of calcite, even though it is a uniaxial mineral, n omega is greater than n epsilon. That is why calcite is a negative mineral. Or the optic sign of calcite is uniaxial negative. Now, what is this birefringence? Birefringence is nothing but the difference in the refractive index. So, quartz, the birefringence is 1.553 minus 1.544 is equal to 0.009. And in the case of calcite, you get a higher birefringence, that is 0.172. Fundamentally, birefringence is a major function in determining the respective interference color of a mineral under thin section. Now, we're going to see next what is an interference figure. This is how an interference figure look like. You can see that there is a dark colored cross which is surrounded by nice colorful rings. These are, the various parts of a uniaxial interference figure. So we're going to see that first, and we will see what are the various setup we need to make in a petrological microscope to get this interference figure. Because the normal setup, a section cut perpendicular to C axis, where we can see if you cut a section perpendicular to C axis, that is this one, if you cut a section like this section should ideally be isotropic. But when you use some minor adjustment in a petrological microscope, the same section will give you something like this. This is called as interference figure. This is a petrological microscope in which we have an option of two different arrangements for study of minerals under thin section, where we can see this is the normal arrangement, where we can see the light comes reflected from the mirror. That is what's being shown over here. This is the polarizer. So light passes through the polarizer, generating the polarized light. This is the mineral thin section that is being kept on the microscope stage. Here, if you look at it, the light that is coming out from this is actually hitting this section orthogonally. Okay, that is why this particular arrangement is called as orthoscopic study. The second arrangement, we can see that you have inserted a condenser which is actually kept out in this arrangement, which is being kept in the light path that is just below the stage, which will converge the incident light, and the mineral section is kept on the stage is going to be at an angle to the incident light, or we can see that a cone of light is going to be hitting the mineral section. You can see that the light is actually coming and hitting the section at an angle. The earlier time it was perpendicular to the section, but here it is coming at an angle, or this kind of arrangement is called as conoscopic study. So you have got conoscopic arrangement and you have got orthoscopic arrangement. Conoscopic arrangement is the arrangement required to get the interference figure. We also need to insert Betron lens to get a magnified view of the interference figure. That is why you can see the Betron lens is actually kept outside in this arrangement, but that is being inserted in the light path for the conoscopic studies. So you have got two different arrangements over here. One is orthoscopic and the other one is conoscopic. How do we know an isotropic mineral thin section is uniaxial or biaxial? Good question. We can identify that if you study the mineral under thin section, under the cross nickel, if it stays completely extinct, there are two possibilities. One is the mineral is isotropic. Second option is that section is cut perpendicular to the optic axis. All other minerals which goes 4 times extinct under the complete rotation of the stage, and it will show you respective interference colors. So you know that is anisotropic. But to identify whether it is uniaxial or biaxial, no, it is not possible under the normal arrangement in the petrological microscope. So that is why you need to do some arrangement primarily by adjusting the normal study of the orthoscopic to conoscopic. So the interference figure will help you to identify given anisotropic mineral is a uniaxial one or a biaxial one. But to obtain and observe an interference figure using a microscope, we need to do some arrangement. You have to use a high power objective, focus on a mineral grain free of cracks and implosions, flip the auxiliary condenser. I have told how the condenser is being put in the light path. So flip the auxiliary condenser in the light path, where you can see that then insert the analyzer. So that is going to be under the cross Nicoll. You need to insert the Betron lens or remove the ocular. If the Betron lens is not functional, you have to remove the ocular. You won't get a magnified view, but you still get the interference figure that can be seen through the microscope too. You'll not see the grain, but the interference figure which appears on the top surface of the objective lens. So the interference figure consists of a pattern of interference colors and a black band which may form a cross. So these are the two major parts of it, a pattern of interference color which are normally circular in nature, and a black band which we have seen in the previous slide. These are the two major parts, and the third part is nothing but the intersection of this cross, that is the central part of that particular view. Nature and pattern of the interference figure is dependent on the orientation of the grain. We will see that in our coming slides. As we have discussed in the beginning, we have seen that there are three possible interference figures, which are, one is optic axis figure or centered optic axis figure, where we can see that the optic axis is vertical or the section is cut perpendicular to the optic axis. Second is off-centered optic axis figure, where the optic axis is inclined. And the last one is a flash figure, where the optic axis is horizontal, or you cut the section parallel to the optic axis. Each figure type is a direct reflection of the different cuts through the indicatrix. What are the parts of an interference figure? So these are the parts which I actually told isogyre, where we have seen that black bands, which look like a cross in the centered optic axis figure, a band of extinction in an interference figure that appears where light vibration directions are parallel and perpendicular to the lower and upper polarizer. So that area will look dark, and if it's a centered optic axis figure, it look like a cross. Melatop is the intersection of those isogyre. So at the center, you can see that there's a point of emergence of optic axis. So this black band is the isogyre, and the central part is the melatop. Melatop is nothing but that is the emergence of the optic axis. So you can see that in the case of uniaxial one, you will have one melatop, but the pattern in biaxial is slightly different, which is characterized by two melatop. So melatop is the point where the isogyre cross in a uniaxial interference figure. And the last one is isochromes. Isochromes are nothing but these are the circular rings of different color, which are formed due to different retardation, or the color bands which wrap around the optic axis of a uniaxial mineral and the optic axis in a biaxial mineral, where the pattern is going to be different again. You will see that later. So you can see these are the way a centered optic axis figure look like. Okay, so the uniaxial optic axis interference figure, where we can see this is the optic axis and the section is cut perpendicular to the optic axis, and this is how it actually looks. This is an actual view of that particular section. This is how you see that in a normal thin section. Under the necessary arrangements to generate the interference figure. So this is how it actually looks. So all these colors that you see are called as isochromes. This black band that you actually see over here is called as isosphere, and the central part of the intersection of the band is called as melatop, which is the emergence of the optic axis. One thing you need to remember, when we actually said that these black bands are an indication that epsilon and omega are parallel or perpendicular to the polarizer or analyzer. So you can see over here, these are oriented parallel or perpendicular to the polarizer or analyzer, and the black wave which is being denoted over here, where we can see epsilon is like a spoke of a wheel, where it is radiating away from the center, and that is how the orientation of epsilon is always, and perpendicular to that is omega. So you can see in this quadrant and this quadrant, the vibration directions of epsilon and omega is same. In the same way, you can see the other two quadrants, they are in the opposite direction. Let us see how the isosphere is actually formed, or the interference figure is actually formed. You can see that when the light hits the condenser system, it converges the light that passes through the mineral, and you can see that the central line, the number 1 ray, which goes through the mineral without any double refraction, but the number 2 and 4 has traveled same distance. So you look at over here, the number 2 and 4 just travel the same distance, and you will be having a cone of light emerging out from here through the mineral, which is reflected with an inner cone having equal retardation, a particular color. The same way, number 3 and 5 has traveled a greater distance, and that's also giving you an equal retardation with a respective color band indicating the isochrome. So this is a simple way to explain how the isochromes are actually formed and the respective isogates and melatopes actually seen in an interference figure, which is from a uniaxial mineral cut perpendicular to the optic axis. Now, what are these three? A, B, and C. All three are interference figure, but you can see there are slight changes. This is one we have been discussing so far, where the interference figure is a reflection that this section is actually cut perpendicular to the C axis or optic axis, but you can see in this is actually slightly off-centered. So when you rotate it, you can see this optic axis actually not going to be stable like here in the center. It actually rotates. And over here, when you see, you can see this occupy a major part of the area, and when you rotate a slight rotation itself, the whole thing actually disappears. So can you tell me what is A, B, and C? Try it out. A is optic axis figure, where the optic axis is vertical. B is off-centered optic axis figure, where the optic axis is inclined. And C is the flash figure, where we can see the section is cut parallel to the optic axis. So you can see the indicator is like this, light comes through, and that is going to be generating the off-centered optic axis figure. So as we started, we have said the interference figure is a reflection of how you actually cut the mineral. It's going to be more clear in the next slide, and that's the end of the session, where we can see that if you have cut a mineral section like this, the cut is perpendicular to the optic axis. Okay, this is how you are actually cutting it. You can see that you will be getting a centered optic axis figure. If you cut from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we can see that that will be giving you different types of off-centered optic axis figure. And 7 is nothing but a section cut parallel to the optic axis, a section cut parallel to the optic axis, and that is the one that is going to be showing that as a flash figure. So that is the end of today's lecture on uniaxial interference figure. I have a few questions for you, which you can actually work on. These are the questions. How do we determine the given anisotropic mineral is uniaxial or biaxial? We have already discussed that. Check out what adjustment that you need to do in a petrological microscope to generate interference figure, and you get the answer from that. A uniaxial mineral thin section cut perpendicular to the optic axis ideally need to be isotropic. All of us know that when you actually cut a section perpendicular to c-axis or optic axis, that is a circular section. So if you study that mineral under the petrological microscope, there is no double refraction. So you can see that mineral goes extreme for 360-degree rotation. It behaves as an isotropic. Discuss the adjustment required to be performed on the petrological microscope to observe the interference figure. So we have seen when you did the conoscopic arrangements and the betterments, you have got a very nice optic axis figure. How many different types of uniaxial indicatrix possible? We have seen that uniaxial minerals are characterized by two RAs. So we can try to find out what are the possible ways the indicatrix shape will look like depending upon the type of the array. How do you identify an off-centered optic axis figure? We have just seen that is related to how you actually cut the mineral. So you can see in the previous slide where when you actually rotate it, this is going to be rotating unlike a centered optic axis figure. So that is how you will be able to identify that as a off-centered optic axis figure. Flash figure is going to be totally different. We will discuss that in the next session. Thank you.